Welcome to the Mischief Maker broadcast, where chaos, creativity, and common sense collide. Your host, Joel Freeman, was kicked out of high school in Alberta, Canada. He left home at 17 and hitchhiked around North America as a long-haired hippie and dope-smoking fool. He made a 180-degree change, becoming one of the first chaplains in the history of the NBA. As a professional speaker, Joel has traveled to well over 55 countries. His many books have been published in 28 foreign translations. Pieces from his Black History collection have been seen by millions at the United Nations and many other venues. And now, the Chief Mischief Maker himself, Dr. Joel A. Freeman.
Hey guys, it's Baby Joel here. Hey, I have a question for everyone in law enforcement out there. If I refuse to take a nap, is that resisting arrest?
I think it is, and I'll be calling 911, Baby Joel, right away to arrest you for resisting arrest. Anyway, it's a joy to be with you. I'll tell you folks, anyone that's watching this live from Japan, Australia, India, across Europe, Canada, U.S., we have a terrific guest. I only interview mischief makers who are black belt, or I don't know what you want to call it, in mischief making. And we have someone that's on with us tonight, today. His name is Joe Young. He's from Connecticut. And he is quite an interesting character. He's an award-winning cartoonist, filmmaker. He's a producer, writer, a teaching artist. For those of you who are artists, you want to listen in and lean in, because we might talk about some ideas and some ways to hone your craft. And if I don't touch on it, of course, you can ask questions. You have the ability to do that if you're a live viewer on this show. And so be my safety net. When I miss the follow-up question, when I miss the question, be there to really help. This is a group effort here to make this show a really wonderful show for everybody. He's the president of Joe Young Entertainment and the creator of the socially engaging Kemet, the time traveler. It's a comic property, and he's also a writer and executive producer of Hartford's first major homegrown book-to-film project called Diamond Ruff. You get that, don't you? The diamond in the rough. I shouldn't even explain it, because I know you're right. You're 3 steps ahead of me. 2015, Cinedigm Entertainment is the largest independent contact provider in the United States, nationally distributed through Diamond Ruff, the movie. And currently, the movie can be viewed on TubiTV. He's also the co-founder of and president of Hartford's Got Talent. So if you live in that area and you want to get in touch with him to see if you can showcase, strut your stuff at Hartford's Got Talent, it's probably a good opportunity to connect with him. He's an arts. Hartford Got Talent. It's an arts nonprofit organization that showcases talent and connects the community. And he's also a Guinness World Record holder for creating the world's longest comic strip. Okay, we need to talk about that. And which includes participation of thousands of Greater Hartford-based youth. In 1999, he received the prestigious Daily Point of Light Award from the White House for volunteering his time in bringing the arts to otherwise accessless youth. And his works have appeared in People, Ebony, GQ, Jet Magazine, Boston Globe, New York Times, all kinds of places, and other national media. So we're in for quite a treat tonight. I want you to lean in and have a great time connecting with Joe Young. But first, for those of you for first time, you can connect with the QR code above, and that's a link tree with our sponsor. I've got some swag with me, Rosetta Universe, the Jack Johnson hat, and some other things that got with me here, some swag. So anyway, you can connect with our sponsor, and you can kind of learn a whole bunch of things. What's the definition of a mischief maker, and how can you become a mischief maker in your neck of the woods? So without any further ado, I write music, and here's a song called The Business Partner Blues. So Mel, let's hit that right now.
Started out dreaming, hands in the air. Worked hard to build something, a vision to share. Attacked hell with squirt guns, thought we were tough. But business and friendship, wow, it can get rough. Then came the dollars, along with the doubt. Late night worries and figures to count. One was saving, the other was spending. Both knew that their trust in the other was bending. The lawyers on standby, papers to sign. Friendship eroded, $1 at a time. Was it the ego, or was it the greed? Maybe just two different versions of need. But there's a way to stand the test, to keep a friendship and not make a mess. Write it all down, be clear and wise. Take on the deal, but don't close your eyes. Respect the roles, don't cross the lane. Split the profit, split the pain. If trust gets thin, step back, reset. Cause friendship's a fortune you don't wanna bet. The best way to ruin a bond that's true is to mix in money and gaslight the view. If you wanna stay friends and make money together, be humble and smart and respect God forever. Respect the roles, don't cross the lane. Split the profit, split the pain. If trust gets thin, step back, reset. Cause friendship's a fortune you don't wanna bet. The best way to ruin a bond that's true is to mix in money and gaslight the view. If you wanna stay friends and make money together, be humble and smart and respect God forever.
Well, there you have it. For many years, about 30 years or so, I traveled all around the world, 58 countries, worked with all kinds of businesses, at least a dozen family-owned businesses. And, I was invited into the middle of the mess sometimes. Sometimes things, generally when a consultant is brought in, there's a mess. And that song was birthed out of a lot of that. I ended up, I've written a book about it. I haven't yet published it, but I'll tell you, there's a lot of pain, money changes people. It's just a fascinating thing to watch. Anyway, that's not our topic this evening, but I just wanted to kind of give you a little backdrop to that song. and my album is coming out soon. It's called Mischief Maker. What other title would you have for an album coming out? Anyway, before Joe comes on, Joe Young, I want us to play and to watch a 2-minute PSA video, and it's a kind of a trailer of some of the work that he does, just to give you kind of a glimpse into the creative genius of Joe Young. Mel, let's take a look at that if we could.
I'm Kemet, the time traveler, and when I journey through history, I see the story of America. The popular view is that the very first people of this land were the indigenous people who walked it with pride and spirit. Some also say that Africans may have touched these shores long before Columbus. But what we know for sure is this: millions of my people were stolen from Africa and brought here in chains. Yet still, we built. Still, we dreamed. Still, we rose. The Irish came too, fleeing famine. The Chinese built railroads through mountains. Italians and Jews escaped poverty and persecution. Latino families, Mexicans, and others from Latin America worked the fields, built communities, and fought for dignity, and countless others. Japanese, Germans, and more all struggled. Yet, all are part of America's story. The truth is, every immigrant who came here brought power with them. The power to endure, to build, to dream. Even when the world told them they didn't belong. At Ellis Island, millions passed beneath the gaze of the Statue of Liberty, carrying hope, struggle, and the dream of freedom. Together, they built the cities, the railroads, the music, the soul of this nation. The truth is simple. America was never built by one person alone, but by many. Not by shutting doors, but by opening them. Our strength is rising together. And this is the story of us immigrants. One nation, many journeys.
Wow. Thank you so much, Joe, for producing that and allowing us to share it. Joe, come on. Let's do this thing. Let's talk. This is more of a conversation, less of an interview. You have a lot of great stuff oh my goodness, we already have a first Robinia McKinley. I'll get to you in just a moment, Robenia. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. But Joe, I'll tell you, you have a lot of accomplishments. There's a lot of wind beneath your wings. And if you could, I guess just before, I guess she's saying this should be a great conversation. Before we get into this great conversation, if you could share a little bit about your upbringing, your parents, your siblings, the town you grew up in, the ups and the downs and all arounds, friends and everything else.
Well, first of all, Joel, it's an honor to be here. Thank you for that. You said something really important. You said the wings beneath you. And for me, the wings have been the amazing people in my life, my family and the team that I work with. And so, ever since I was young, I had a great support system. I had a mother and father in the family. I grew up with 7 brothers and sisters. Joe, we have 3 sets of twins in my family.
Yeah. What? That's crazy. Are you a twin?
Yes. Yep.
Oh my goodness. I did not know that. And as many times we've talked, and maybe you've told me, but I didn't know that. That's crazy. Incredible.
Yep. 3 sets of twins. And, my parents always fostered us to, they always encouraged us to pursue our dreams. And I just, I found my purpose early on, which was to create and to produce, to take nothing and turn it into something. I did my first play at 7 years old called John Lee. Even today, people know my work because it's someone overcoming some type of adversity. Mm-hmm. And it's 7. I wrote this about this character, John Lee, who was fighting monsters. And, in our living room, I had my first production. I got a standing ovation. even though I've gotten other standing ovations since, it's never met that 7-year-old ovation.
You were hooked then, right?
And so, Joe, as a creative, your mind can be a little weird sometimes. And, so school wasn't easy for me. I always struggled with school, but I found the arts. I was a ventriloquist at 7 or 8 or 9, 12, whatever. And, I did bad in school. I say this joke that I was called the fisherman because all my grades were below sea level. So, um, but I found a way out, which was comic art, and that's why I do a lot of it today. And my mother, she was amazing. I remember a teacher in 5th grade told me I would never be a writer. I went home depressed. My mother said, "Don't let anybody tell you can't do something." And she said, "You will be a writer." She passed in '88, and her words still live on today. So she's the angel on my shoulder. And so then,
She passed away when you were young, right? I mean,
yep,
1988. Wow.
yep,
How old?
yep.
How old were you when that happened?
Well, gee, in '88, I must have been around 21
My goodness.
or something like that. But Dad is still around. He's 97 and still
Oh
kicking it,
my.
still walking the yard. He, can drive, and he's just, his mind is right. So just really fortunate.
Hmm.
And then then I became a single parent with my son Kyle, who works with me closely today. When I became a single parent, I was kind of thinking, oh, I can't make it. I'm a single parent. But what happened was it focused me to focus on my purpose, which was to create. And soon after that, at 21, I was syndicated with my comic strip Scruples to religious news service to different newspapers. So my life has been about turning lemons into lemonade, and it's not how many times you fall, but how many times you get up. And then I got into developing nonprofits, and again, I started early, and then animation became uh, uh, a regular person could do animation with technology, and then got into animation. And then in 2008, I wrote a book called Diamond Ruff and turned it into a feature film, which was the
Oh,
first major feature film by a homegrown person in Hartford on that level.
wow. So let's go back to being a twin. I'm often fascinated. Do you kind of feel things with your? Is it twin brother or sister?
Twin sister Janice.
Now, do you are you kind of almost telepathic and understanding each other and completing each other's sentences? Well, what is that like
No,
being a
no, we don't
twin?
complete. We're kind of opposites. We don't complete each other. So we cut each other off. So we're the complete opposite. But we do have a certain synergy. All jokes aside, we do. But we are so different, but same in the same way. As far as, because we grew up with the same values and principles and things like that. But
Hmm.
she's an introvert, and I'm the extrovert. But when we run into trouble, we do mischief. We fall on each other. She's one of my biggest supporters.
Because you hear stories of people, twins separated at birth, and then later on in their 30s they meet, and they're driving the same type of car, they like the same colors. It's just
Yeah.
kind of an almost ethereal, incredible connection there.
Yep. Yep. But we do have a magical connection, me and my twin. But so that's interesting. I got to look that up about the twins who meet each other in the drives. I got to look that stuff up. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Oh, it's fascinating stories out there on YouTube, I'm sure.
Hmm.
Now, you talk about how you have made stories where people are against all odds. And what in your life has informed that has caused you to be drawn to that type of a narrative?
Well, I think again, my purpose is always to take something that's not anything and turn it into something. And when you try to do something outside the box, you always get resistance.
Hmm.
I'm an entrepreneur like yourself, Joe. So we face things a lot of people don't face, and we make mistakes along the way, and we got to come back from those things. And so whether it's personal or relationships or anything, we have to bounce back. So I think as a creator, I think this is what we sign up for, uh, dealing with certain situations and being able to bounce back.
Being a creator and being creative, there's kind of a yin and yang. It's a curse and a blessing. Could you kind of address those elements, the curse side of it and the blessing side of it?
Well, I think the curse side is, as creators, we can be delusional. We lack a lot of balance sometimes, which is taxing on relationships and even our health to a
Yeah,
certain
yeah.
extent. And so again, I guess you'll have to be somewhat selfish to be a creator too if you want to get something done. That's why you have to have great people, like-minded people around you. You got to find the right people. But the blessing is you call your own shots.
Hmm.
When, and Joe, when you create something and it comes from God, is one of the biggest high you can get, and then you execute it. And I think being a creator is one of the most fulfilling things someone could do or have a purpose to do. But it's a beautiful thing to be able to create and see it come to fruition.
Was there one or two or three people in your childhood that helped to feed this, other than your parents?
Well, I've always had friends who loved comic books that we collected, talked about heroes, and of course, my family. And then along the way, you have friends like I have friends like growing up like Mike and Arnold and Mark and those guys who encourage you to pursue things.
Hmm.
And went on to sports. I did the arts, but you feed onto it. Just cousins and great teachers. Went to a great high school, Northwest Catholic, and I've always one of the things I think I've been successful is because I've had great people around me, and
Hmm.
also folks who tell you, Joe, you're lost, get back on track.
Hmm.
Who weren't always trying to say yes. They told me they love me, so they told me, check that, Joe, get on the path, get on the right path again.
When I was a young man, I think we suffer from the same disease of creativity. As a young man, I remember I would get things started, but when I lost interest, my passion would wane, and I wasn't very good at completing what I started. And there were always excuses. Oh, it's the economy, or
Mm.
it just things weren't working properly, or I made contacts, but they didn't reach back out to me in a timely manner, or something like that. But wait, I'm working on something. 6 months from now, it's going to blow your mind. I'm now kind of jumped from one horse to another horse. And I can't even remember when that became a revelation to me, but it was early on. I'd say in my mid 20s or so when I realized this. And then I decided I am not going to start something unless, number
Mm.
one, it's worth finishing. Number two, unless I'm willing to finish it, regardless of how much pain is involved. And then I began to start things that I shouldn't have started. And then I was kind of stuck because I had this internal mechanism inside of me that says, you're going to finish this, buddy. You're not going to, stop this. And then now, I have more boundary lines, and I have a certain grid I run everything through. Before I form a collaboration with anybody, all that. Can you talk about that process in your life? Was it a similar process, or could you kind of speak to that?
Well, I think mine, Joel, was a little bit opposite, where I started something and I completed it no matter what. My problem was the collateral damage after. Because I had blinders on. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But as I get older, I try to create more balance and take on, another, I think, gift that I have. I'm able to multitask and do multiple things at the same time and delegate,
Hmm.
which I'm getting better at. But, my problem has always been I don't know when to stop. I
Hmm.
stop when it's done, which is hasn't always been the best thing.
What boundaries do you set up for yourself or have you set up for yourself that have worked for you as a creative person?
Well, again, I'm a work in progress. It's projects where it makes sense, and I have to prioritize certain things. Um, and again, as a businessman now, when you have payroll, things like that, it's got to make financial sense as well. And then I have to be careful on the different projects that I take on that aren't my own, which is difficult. Your video was so profound, and it's all a learning experience. So you have to be careful with collaborating, and you have to put certain things in a box and certain expectations and things like that, so we're not disappointed because not everybody goes in with the same integrity, with the same everything that you may. And so, I just try to look at the worst and the best scenarios when I go into some type of situation or even a project, and I count the cost. Is it worth it? Is it worth it?
Yeah.
And then I bring it to people around me who are close. Do you think that this is something that I should do? Is this something you're interested in? And again, the people I work with are honest with me, and they'll say, "No, Joe, nah, I don't think this is going to work," or "I think you shouldn't put your time in this."
It's I've heard this statement that you cannot manage that which you don't measure. And when you think about the whole measuring part, how do you measure success? And what is your definition of success? And then how do you measure that in what you do?
Well, I think for me, measuring success is basically, do I feel good about it? Number one. Also, is it of service to others what I'm doing? Or is it just self-serving? But I like to do stuff that's going to help others. I mean, if you look at my work, the different youth programs that I do, or Hartford's Got Talent, and it's usually serving others. So that's one of the measuring tools. And will it affect me personally? Will it hurt, my personal life if I take on this venture? So those are some of the things that I measure different projects, and where will this project be? Not just in 6 months. Where will it be in 10 years or 15 years? Is it worth doing?
As a kid, what were you obsessed with? Was it the movies, music, storytelling, drawing, history? What
Definitely,
was
definitely writing, and creating, and just the creative arts. Like I said, I was a ventriloquist. I remember in junior, no, was it middle school or elementary? I had my ventriloquist showcase, and so it's always been the arts, but writing specifically. I didn't start drawing till later on.
really? So you were writing like for comics. You were the one that not the illustrator first, but the writer of the script or the
Yeah,
narrative.
when I was younger, I did both, everything. I wrote and I did it, but my first work were plays. I love to write plays.
Oh wow.
Yep. Or coming up with, on the 8 millimeter films, doing little short films back then with dad's camera. But
Wow.
writing and creating is my thing, and producing is the art too, to take something and bring it to fruition, bring in the right people to help you as well.
If failure was a college professor, what would it be teaching about success, failure? Because I found that success is not a very good teacher. What have you learned from all of that? From
Well,
from starting and then things not working out, and what lessons would have
my
been?
my biggest lessons have come from things that don't work out, because you're not really paying attention to what can go wrong, what can go left. But I just have learned more from the failures. When I did the movie Diamond Ruff, that was the most difficult. I had no idea how hard filmmaking was. I was writer, creator,
Yes.
executive producer, and the hardest part was raising the money, for it. I had no idea. I started in 2008 with the book, and I said it was going to take 2 years, and here comes one of the worst economies in history. And instead of 2 years, it took me 5 or 6 years. But again, within the process, without I mean, we raised over six figures for that, way over six figures. But you know what? Had it not been the recession, I wouldn't have pulled off the movie. When the recession hit, actors were half price, buildings
Wow.
and locations were half price. So,
There's a silver lining in that cloud.
yep. The answer is in the challenge. You know, without the recession, I probably wouldn't have been able to do it.
And there's a lot of foundations too that they'll even have in their fine print. We'll give money for this, this, and this, but no films. So there's some are just have a bias against giving money toward
And
filmmaking.
they're smart because films are high risk.
Yes, very high risk.
You know, the pitch should be maybe sponsorship as far as investors, and a lot of folks doing films are looking for investors. But be careful when you get investors, because you're married to those investors to perpetuity sometimes, and you may lose interest. You may not want to do it. So I say, if you can self-fund, you know, you self-fund it. And if you do find a big person, they may want to take over the creative side of it. So I say, and you know, one of my in my older years, I would say watching Tyler Perry, he's probably one of my biggest influences as far as doing it yourself and creating your own table.
That's profound right there, because he has all of the assets, all the different elements involved, including the studio, and he's beholden to nobody. Very smart the way he's built his kingdom, if you will.
And don't need the Oscars and
Yeah,
doesn't need
yeah.
the recognition.
Yeah,
You know,
who
that
cares?
is so fleeting, the recognition and the trophies and, you
Yeah.
know, all that. And to me, if I had to say a guiding, a North Star for me would be the way Tyler Perry handles his business.
He's extremely hard to get a hold of. Almost
Almost
impossible.
impossible.
I'm sure you've
And
tried.
rightly so. A guy like that has a lot incoming coming at him.
That's right. So we're going to take a break now for our sponsor, Rosetta Universe. And so, Mel, can we play the video?
Hi, I'm Joel Freeman, the founder of the Rosetta Universe. Join us in transforming this ancient artifact, the Rosetta Stone, into a modern metaphor for critical thinking and problem solving. Young people today are overwhelmed by information, but most do not have a roadmap for the practical use of that knowledge. By turning thinking into a simple 7-step Rosetta process, we are making it feel doable rather than intimidating. It shifts the focus from being smart to being disciplined, which is a game changer for many students who struggle. Our reach is for the following grade bands: K2, 3-5, 6-8, 9-12, college, and beyond. Give me a call with any wisdom and advice. Here's my personal cell, 410-991-9718. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, wherever you are in the world, give me a holler. I'm wide open for wisdom and advice on this project, and it's about the Rosetta Universe. I've developed 7 steps to solve pretty much any problem in about 8 to 10 categories of problems, and the whole story of the Rosetta Stone involves hieroglyphics, ancient Egyptian secrets, cracking codes, war, Napoleon, all the elements of a narrative that is gripping to kids of all ages, from K to Gray. And so check it out. You can go to the rosettauniverse.com, go to the QR code, and then get in touch with me. And then one of the things that we're using for fundraising is this is the Jack Johnson belt I designed. We're only making 700 of these worldwide. And they're all hand-numbered, handmade, hand-signed, and you can only get them through the Rosetta Universe. Once the 700th is gone, we're destroying the mold. And this is a way for us to raise the funds, help raise the funds for this project. So now we come back to our guest, our wonderful guest, Joe Young. And we have Glenn Rogers here. He says Spike Lee also owns his own work.
Right.
And you want to address that at all? Because I want to talk about Kemet.
You know, I said, you know, Tyler Perry with Spike Lee. Glenn is 100% right, and there's so many others, that you can name, but he's right on point.
And so, thank you, Glenn. And there are others that are doing the same thing. And I think more and more with AI and everything else, people are seeing that they can create their own without the need for a huge studio budget, a huge budget for actors. And, necessity is the mother of invention. And we'll see how all that works out. There might be a backlash where people say, I'm sick and tired of this AI stuff. I want the real. And so we'll see how it all pans out in the end. But in the meantime, there's a lot of creative energy that is going into there's Creator Wood and these other apps, software programs that help people create their own movies and videos.
But it is a slippery slope. It's funny, me and my daughter were in conversation with Miss Rabina in the office today, talking about AI, and I guess the takeaway is it's a fine line with the creation, but why can't it be put on more practical things like creating economical things or things that can really be useful for the common man?
Yes.
And it's a slippery slope when you talk about creativity and someone winning awards with an AI avatar and they're not creating the music. So it's just very interesting how this is going to turn out. But some way, I think we're going to have to be able to use it as a tool that doesn't infringe on total creativity.
And my prediction is there's going to be a backlash. People are going to try this and go down this road as much as possible, but then there's going to be a backlash of people saying, no, I want the LP. I don't want the digital. I want the analog. So let's turn a gentle corner here to Kemet, the world traveler. Mm-hmm. And if you could kind of, first of all, take us back to the meaning of the word Kemet and why you chose that word, what that means, what it's loaded with meaning, and what you're trying to communicate through that meaning.
Okay, well, first of all, I created Kemet during COVID. Originally, his name was Ben 1776, and I got to shout out a mutual friend of ours, Joel, who passed, Bob Woodson.
Bob Woodson. Yep.
He helped fund the initiative to create this character who could teach Black history. Again, he passed, I think, in May 19th, so rest in peace, Bob. And then after, I wanted to create a character that reflected Black, and I thought about the word Kemet or Kemet, however you want to pronounce it, and Kemet meaning Black land, Africa. And I thought that name would fit the character, who is he's a 10-year-old boy who is a time traveler. Mm-hmm. He's born in West Africa in a land called Zula, and the slave owners come over and they bring him through the Middle Passage. He comes to America, he runs away, and he builds a time machine, and he travels throughout time, ancient Africa to current times. And when kids are having problems in the 21st century, he brings them to the past to meet people who can help them with their challenge. Mm-hmm. And since then, we've created 10 comic books, a graphic novel. We have millions of views on social media. It's picked up by the Black press. It goes out to 230 newspapers, 22 million readers a week. Got to shout out Miss Rabina, who heads up that, and Wally Clady, who does research, and Alicia, who do it, and Kyle, who distributes it to the newspaper. Again, it's a lot of creativity, but it's a lot of business behind it as well. And I say to a lot of, and I think we're fortunate, Joe, we're one of those creators who try to take care of business, because a lot of artists, they lack in that business type of mindset, but it's needed if you want to take it to the next level, or you find somebody who can help you. But to me, if you're trying to make a property and you want to have it seen, it takes resources to do it. So the creativity is in everything. You have to handle your business as well.
So when you first started this, you started writing this, I most of my writing is in nonfiction, but I've done some fiction writing. Mm-hmm. And I think that what has surprised me the most in fiction writing is that I have an idea, but then as I'm writing, certain things happening that surprise me, even as the writer. It's like it's happening before my very eyes. Has that happened to you? And tell me about that part of the process.
Well, again, you get an idea, and most times it doesn't end up the way you started, and that's
Yeah.
what's so beautiful about creating, where you're not. It takes on a life of its own. Like when I'm creating, I can see the characters in front of me, like they're right in front of me, and I'm just writing down, what they're doing. And again, my thing when I write, I want to, I'm character driven with the storytelling. But for me to create, I believe, a blockbuster character, the character has to be well defined.
Mm-hmm.
And what I think about, am I able to describe this character in one or two words? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we look at great properties, whether TV or comics. Popeye, he's strong. Charlie Brown, he's depressed. SpongeBob, he's silly. So I try to create characters that I can define in one, two words to someone. And I know I've got a great character, but as far as the process of writing, when you start bringing in supporting characters, it's just a fun process, and it usually doesn't start off. It doesn't end the way it starts off, and you have to be open to just let it flow.
Yes. And when you have a character, you have to have a view from above, three quarters,
Yes.
side, left, right, rear, three quarters, rear, all from looking up at. And, how did you figure out what kind of weight? Did you want someone more rotund or someone thin? How did you figure that out? Because when you have the weight and the height and the style, the hair and everything else, it can contribute to the personality of the character and even the trajectory of the story.
Are you talking about more animation? Or are you
Yes,
just
animation,
saying
yes.
characters in general? Well, again, thank goodness I can draw, so I do different character studies
Mm-hmm.
with it. And then again, I look at that. The key is the writing. The key is the writing. I look at the character, where they're from, what's their environment, and those things take on how the physical appearance is. Or I might want to contradict something,
Mm-hmm.
with the character. Just say someone who likes to eat a lot. I might say, let me make this character thin, which makes it kind of funny. And I
Mm-hmm.
love to create humor. There's always some type of humor in my work. A lot of people don't realize that they're comedians and they know the process already. For instance, to make something funny, one of the techniques is just build your audience up for a surprise. It's kind of like the basis of a joke, you,
Mm-hmm.
you, you know. But again, going back to what you're saying, when I create this universe, the writing is so important. I know everything about the character, what the eyelashes are like, what
Mm-hmm.
the body frame is, the color of the everything, because you're giving life to this character. And
Yes.
so I treat it like I'm creating a character from scratch, which
Hmm.
I am creating from scratch. And
Hmm.
this it's to me, the writing is the most rewarding part of creating, not the drawing but the writing, because
Mm-hmm.
that sets the tone for everything.
Let's put a pin in that. I want to come back to that, but we have Joshua McNee says, if you consider the severe limitations of AI, for example, if you ask an AI generator what does it mean when someone has butterflies in his or her stomach, the heart racing, sweaty palms, AI can't tell you if it's fear or sexual arousal. AI wouldn't even know the right question to ask. Do you want to address that?
Well, no, I that's a really good question. Again, I think we're still trying to figure this A out stuff, and with AI, there's this validation thing too. It will agree with you no matter
Mm-hmm.
what, but it can't give you those certain things like Joshua was said, where it's not human, so it can't answer some of those things.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are your thoughts, Joel, on that?
Well, I think that there are severe limitations at
Yep.
this point, anyway. I don't know how sentient AI will become, and that could get dystopian rather quickly, I think. but that's a whole nother topic that we won't go down that road right now. But I think that it's all about learning the prompts, and sometimes it's training, it's teaching AI and saying, hey, I thank you for that, but I want this other view. and maybe even explaining, hey, it's not sexual arousal, it's fear, or it's embarrassment, or whatever the emotion that one is going for. So sometimes just recalibrating, coming back, and learning each other and what you're looking for.
Yep. I think there'll always be severe limitations because it's not
Yes.
human. It doesn't have a soul.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's go back to character development of a cartoon character. So when you are thinking of like Kemet, and I'm not sure which syllable to put the emphasis upon, but we'll just call it Kemet. But do you do kind of a full-blown overview, a biography of their childhood, parenting or lack thereof, personality, quirks, sense of humor, pain, thresholds? Do you get in that deep into a character before you, or
Yes.
superpowers?
Yeah, everything, a Bible, everything.
Really?
What's the phobia? What's everything? Who's their aunts? Who's their uncles? Everything. Again, you're bringing this character life as if the character's human. Because if you want to do something long term, there's stuff you have to feed on. So you have to create this universe. So when I do a character, I create a Bible on each of the supporting characters as well as the lead character. To me, the characters are real people.
And so that, how much time, like if you're looking at a project and you're starting from scratch, and as in any good project management, you say, this is when I want to be done, and then you start working back, by this date we should have this accomplished, and that accomplished by that date, and hopefully you'll be done on time. How do you go about, how much time, like a slice of pie, how big is that slice of pie into character development in developing a whole project?
Well, for me, again, not only am I a creator, but I have I appreciate my critical thinking, but everything I do, I have an action plan of short term, long term goals. And again, what's the objective? What do I want to do with this character? Do I want it to hit nationally? Then I'll put up a 2 or 3 year plan to get there. And just as methodic as I am with creating a character, I am with the timeline. If you come into my office, you'll see we have lists, daily lists, and we have to accomplish certain things, that week, that month, that day. And so I live and die by those lists. But the overall plan is our 2-3 year action plan. But I lay it down week by week, month by month. So I project it out 3 years in advance. What people do we have to bring in? What type of money? If this doesn't go through, what do we do? So again, the business, if the work that I do, I love to get it seen by different people because I want to provoke thought. And so I have series timelines and series lists and action plans to get it done.
Wow. Now you did something with Smokey Robinson. Can you talk a little bit about that particular project?
Oh yeah, that was a fun project, Joel. We have a mutual friend that we love, Curtis Robinson. He was doing a golf tournament.
Shout out to Curtis.
Shout out to Curtis. He's the man.
Oh my.
And he had a celebrity
Sheila.
golf in Sheila. Yes, yep. And he had a celebrity golf tournament, and Smokey, I was sitting with, I think Miss Rabina was with me, and Smokey was there. I can't remember who else was with us. And Smokey was, I told him, I forgot how we got into it, but he said, I wrote this poem called Black American. And this man recited this long poem in front of us. We were
extemporaneously,
like, wow.
Right?
Yeah, it was just amazing. I said, we have to animate this thing. And in a turn of events, we got to Bob Bazzelli, who we love too, his
I
manager.
love Bob. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And then, and Smokey, can we animate it? And a year later, I'm in LA with Smokey in his recording studio doing the soundtrack for it. And it just really blew up. You can find it on YouTube. It's called Black American. We used a simple animation style And when we went in the studio, Smokey recited again like it was nothing. And it's been seen on so many places. It was shown on The View when he was being interviewed on The View.
I remember
And
that. I
so,
remember that.
but it's just such a powerful piece on being a Black American. And he also did it at Deaf Poetry. So he does it live too. But, Smokey Robinson is a genius. He's great to work with. And that was one of my big milestone moments in my life to actually work with Smokey Robinson in directing and producing a piece with this legendary icon.
Now, you got an Emmy award for the Kemet project. Tell us a little bit about that story. When they called you, or how did that all come about?
Okay, well, it was the Boston New England Emmy nomination.
Uh huh.
And so with Kemet, I was watching a speech by President Obama, and he was talking about immigration. I really liked what he had to say. I said, I got to have Kemet address this. So again, God comes and he gives me this idea of to do an immigration PSA with Kemet that you just saw, and then
Hmm.
then you get these these ideas. Let's do it at Ellis Island. Let's do it at the Statue of Liberty Island. I mean, it
Hmm.
just comes to you, and then you got to figure out how to do it. I had no idea, and then the project might cost $50,000. How do you pull this thing off? And again, you kind of attract those things, and I think God gives you the things to make it happen. At the end of the day, the National Park Service gave us Statue of Liberty Island, just our crew of like 20 people. We went
My
to
goodness.
Ellis
Hmm.
Island. I don't know if they've ever shut it down like that for a crew. And then we had an amazing team of people who worked on it. And the natural progression is you put it in different awards, and the
Mm-hmm.
Boston England
Yes.
Emmys are very competitive. I know a lot of people who put stuff in that weren't able to get a nomination, and then we got the notification that it was nominated for an Emmy.
Wow. Now, 50 years from now, um, this particular initiative, this Kemet, the World Traveler, 50
Mhm.
years from now, what do you hope what kind of impact is it still having? Is it still relevant?
Well, I think, yeah, oh, it will definitely be, because what he does, he goes back in time and he tells stories of these great trailblazers or events in Black history, and a lot of that information. There's so many unsung Black heroes who voice has never been heard, and Kemet wants to do that. This Kemet property is going to go way past when I'm here,
Mm-hmm.
and I think because there's so many great stories of Black excellence and Black events and folks working together, and so I see this Kemet going as long as time goes on, because Black history
Yeah.
is that rich.
If you were able to redesign the American educational experience to include creativity and entrepreneurship, what would you change first, and how would you go about that?
Oh, that's a loaded question. There's so much. I'm just saying, just include the stories. Again, I don't know this strategy how to do that, because those are so many different pillars that you just mentioned. I'm not sure how to do it, but I would definitely include the Black history, the arts, and again again is loaded. I think about even trades that you
Mm-hmm.
know in school they should. It's just so much that we have to accomplish. But what I can contribute is the arts in Black history.
So you're part of the Hartford's Got Talent. How did
Mhm.
that come about? And were you a catalyst for that? Did they call you? And kind of give us the texture, the fabric of that whole project.
A good friend of mine, Bob Petroselli, he is a serial entrepreneur and probably one of the most successful businessman in Connecticut. Him and I were having breakfast one day, and he's a philanthropist. He's always given to the arts, him and his wife, Margaret. And we were having breakfast one day, and he was talking about we were talking about gun violence. He said, Joe, what do you think we can do to help stop some of this gun violence in Hartford? I said, I have no idea. It's so much bigger than me. And I said, the only thing I know that saved my life is the arts. And then Bob said, Joe, I've always had this idea called Hartford's Got Talent. It's kind of like America's Got Talent, but in Connecticut. And he said, Joe, do you think you can help me? I'm like, Bob, I'm doing so many other things. And then we just talked about it more. And he provided the funding. 5 years later, he probably gives about 90% of the funding. And we have a big team of people working on it every year. It's at the Bushnell Theater in Hartford, Connecticut, one of the most beautiful theaters in New England. And again, we give out $25,000. We have young kids, the first year, 2 9-year-old kids who had a great message won it. We've had ballroom dancers win it. We had Angel win it this year. Cruz won the Amateur Night at DePaulo, I think, last year. He won it this year, but he lost the year before. And we have all kinds of different talents, and it's just a great thing. And shout out to Bob Petrocelli and Margaret for funding this, and all the other funders that we have in Connecticut to make this happen. But it's a platform that gives people an opportunity and a launch pad to go to the next level. They get professional training by Broadway folks and professional singers. And it's just, we have over 300 people audition every year.
Wow.
And I think our 5th year is going to be the biggest year. I think we're going to break those numbers.
That's correct. That's incredible.
Yep.
Now you've seen young people. I don't know what the age range is. Mm-hmm. What is it?
Well, for Hartford's Got Talent?
Yes.
Oh, we can go from any. It's all ages.
Okay.
Yep.
Just like America's Got Talent. Sometimes an 80-year-old man singing the blues or something like that. So when you've seen people at their most vulnerable getting up on stage, because they say the fear of public speaking is right up there with the fear of death. What's the difference between a person who pushes through that fear and someone who doesn't?
Well, again, we've seen there's so many stories. People who were nervous, who fought through it, have placed in the top.
Mm-hmm.
We've had, just say, a senior who someone who might be 80 years old might have placed in the top 3. But again, I love the process that we have with Hartford's Got Talent, because they get training. Even when they come to auditions, we have people there who are talking with them. People have the jitters, but they get through it. And it's more of an intimate setting, so they get through it. And most times they're really prepared before they come on. We really haven't had anybody who was totally nervous. But people will call us, say, I'm really nervous, and we'll talk with them, and we say, just get up there. And we've seen a lot of success stories of people who were afraid to get up, who actually worked and they got up there, and they made it past the semifinals to the finals.
And you're living through them vicariously, watching them go through the whole process. You know what the crowd doesn't know, and that must be so rewarding.
It is every year. It is really rewarding, and we sell out the venue every year, almost 900 seats every year.
Oh my goodness!
And it's just, and to me, we always say this is why we do it. It makes sense.
Yes. We've got just about a minute left. This has gone by far too quickly. If you were to talk to your 15-year-old self, what would you say, and what kind of warning signals would you give yourself to not ignore as you're growing up?
There's a couple. I would tell my 50-year-old self to really think about the relationships that you get into. Make sure it's with, say, like-minded people, whether, but the main takeaway I would give to my 15-year-old self is to be healthy, eat right, get your mental health. If you got a problem, talk to somebody. And I would tell my 50-year-old self, focus on your health. You
Beautiful.
can even if you achieve, you can get all the money in the world, you can go to different places, but if you don't have your health, you have nothing. And you know, being an entrepreneur, you sometimes sacrifice your health and your sleep. And so I would tell my 50-year-old self, take care, you know, eat well,
Yes.
and do well.
I love it. Thank you so much, Joe. It's such a treat having you on today. Thank you.
Oh, no, thank you, Joe.
You have just experienced another episode of the Mischief Maker broadcast. Hit the subscribe button. Connect at chiefmischiefmaker.com. Thanks for coming along for the ride. And hopefully, you are now a bit closer to becoming a mischief maker in your part of the world.